Predators unleashed. War Master Krell stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Two of his ships had just gone dark. Alarms screamed across the bridge of his flagship. His crew rushed to their stations trying to identify the attacker. Where did they come from? Krell roared. He was a large creature, his thick armored hide covered in battle scars. He had commanded fleets for 40 years. Nothing surprised him anymore. Until now. Sensors show a single vessel, War Master, his tactical officer reported. Council design but heavily modified. They appeared at the system edge and approached under stealth. One ship? They damaged 2 of my cruisers with 1 ship. Krell's mandibles clicked in anger. All vessels concentrate fire on that target. Destroy it now. The 4 remaining Verax ships turned from the planet and opened fire. Plasma cannons lit up the darkness. Missile batteries launched in sequence. Energy beams powerful enough to cut through asteroids converged on the human vessel. The Indomitable's shields flared bright as the attack hit. Inside the ship, damage alarms began to sound. Bulkheads buckled under the energy assault. In the engine room, Lieutenant Yoonji Han worked frantically at her controls. Shields down to 60%, she called over the intercom. Port armor taking direct hits. Hull breach on deck 7 sealing now. Yoonji was a small woman with strong hands and a gift for making broken things work. She had kept ships running through conditions that should have torn them apart. Her crew trusted her completely. Right now, she was performing miracles. Rerouting power from secondary systems to structural integrity fields, she announced. We can take this punishment, but not forever. On the bridge, Minho watched the tactical display. The Verax ships were moving into their standard attack formation, maintaining tight spacing for mutual shield support, just as Sora had predicted. They fight like they are on parade, Sora observed.
Textbook fleet tactics.
No creativity. Then let us show them something new, Minho said. Helm full burn toward the flagship. Make them think we are running straight at them. The Indomitable accelerated directly toward Krell's massive warship. To the Verax it looked like a suicide run, a desperate final attack. They are panicking, Krell's tactical officer reported. The enemy ship is charging our position. Krell watched the human vessel approach. Fools. All ships maintain formation. When they get close enough, we will tear them apart. The Indomitable raced forward. The Verax ships tightened their formation, preparing to concentrate all their firepower at point-blank range. Exactly as Minho wanted. 3,000 kilometers, the helmsman announced. 2,000. 1,000. Now, Minho ordered. The Indomitable executed a maneuver that should have been impossible. Its gravity drive reversed at full power, creating a deceleration force that would have crushed any normal species into paste. But humans had evolved in Earth's heavy gravity. Their bodies could withstand forces that would kill most aliens. The ship stopped almost instantly. The Verax fleet, charging forward at attack speed, shot past the human vessel. Their tight formation broke apart as ships struggled to adjust course. Target their exposed engine sections, Sora commanded. Fire at will. The Indomitable's railguns tracked the passing Verax ships and fired. Without their shields supporting each other, the enemy vessels were vulnerable. Tungsten rounds punched through armor plating and into critical systems. 3 more Verax ships went dark. Only Krell's flagship and 1 escort remained operational. On Talon Prime, Dr. Taven watched the battle from a bunker's monitor. He was a scientist trained in biology and medicine, not warfare. But even he could tell something extraordinary was happening. The Talons were a gentle species. They had evolved from herbivores on a planet with light gravity and abundant resources. They had never known war until it came to their worlds. They had no concept of military strategy or tactics, but they understood courage, and they understood sacrifice. Who are they? Asked a young Talon next to Tavon. Which species came to help us? Taven checked the data feed. His eyes widened. It says they are human. The Deathworlders. Frightened murmurs spread through the bunker. Everyone knew the stories about humans. The violent species from the terrible planet. The Council's dangerous neighbors, but why would they help us? Someone asked. We have nothing to offer them. We are not warriors like they are. Tavon had no answer. He simply watched as the human ship fought against impossible odds to protect people it had never met. In space, War Master Krell made his decision. He could not defeat this human ship in direct combat. They fought in ways he did not understand, using tactics he could not counter. But he could still hurt them. Target the planet, Krell ordered. Population Center Gamma. Full bombardment. His weapons officer hesitated. Warmaster, that will kill millions of civilians. Do it. Force the humans to choose between attacking us and saving those people. The Verax flagship's guns rotated toward the planet's surface. Energy weapons powered up, ready to unleash destruction on a city of 5 million Talons. They are targeting the capital city, Hyun called out. Charging weapons! Minho did not hesitate. Helm, intercept course. Put us between them and the planet. All power to forward shields. The Indomitable moved into position, placing its hull between the Verax weapons and the city below. The enemy fired. Plasma beams struck the human ship's shields with terrible force. Yoonji watched her displays in horror. Shields failing. Hull temperature critical. Captain, we cannot take much more of this. Hold position, Minho ordered calmly. Prepare all shuttles and landing craft for emergency deployment. Get every available pilot ready. Yuna understood immediately. You are sending rescue teams to the surface. We have to protect the ship and save the civilians. So we do both. Minho opened a shipwide channel. All hands, this is the captain. We are going to hold this line. We are going to shield that city for as long as we can. And while we do, we are going to land every team we have and get those people out. No one dies today. That is an order. Throughout the ship, crew members rushed to action. Pilots sprinted to the shuttle bay. Medical teams grabbed emergency supplies. And in the Marine barracks, Specialist Daehyun Ko suited up for combat. Daehyun was a veteran of Earth's unification wars, the conflicts that had finally brought peace to humanity's homeworld. He was stocky and strong, with scars on his face and a calm demeanor under fire. His squad of 20 Marines were the best of the best. Listen up, Daehyun told his team as they checked their weapons. We are going into a hot zone. Enemy ground forces are hunting civilians. Our job is to protect those civilians and extract them to safety. Rules of engagement are simple. Anyone shooting at the Talons or at us gets put down. Hard. Questions? Specialist, the briefing said the Talons are prey species. Physically weak. How careful do we need to be? Asked Corporal Mireille Song, the squad medic. Very careful. They are fragile compared to us. Their bones break easily. They get injured from things we would barely notice. So watch your strength. But do not hold back against the Verax. They have been treating this like a hunting expedition. Time to show them what it feels like to be prey. The Marines loaded into armored drop pods. These were designed to punch through atmosphere and deliver troops directly to combat zones. They were loud, violent, and terrifying. Perfect for what came next. Launch in 30 seconds, the pilot announced. Daehyun sealed his helmet and checked his rifle one last time. He thought about the stories he had heard as a child. About the wars that nearly destroyed Earth. About the moment when humanity decided to be better than its worst impulses. About the choice to use violence only in defense of those who could not defend themselves. 10 seconds. 5 seconds. The drop pods launched from the Indomitable, streaking through the atmosphere like meteors. Inside each pod, Marines braced themselves for the impact that would announce their arrival on Talon Prime. Above them, the Indomitable continued to burn, its armor glowing red-hot from the sustained bombardment. But the ship held position, and below the capital city remained intact. Help had finally arrived. Ground truth. The drop pods hit the ground with tremendous force. Armored hatches blew open, and 20 human Marines emerged into the ruins of the Talon capital. Smoke filled the air. Buildings lay collapsed. Fires burned in the distance. Daehyun scanned the area through his helmet display. Bodies of Talons lay scattered across the street. The enemy had not even given them a chance to run. His jaw tightened. Spread out. Standard search pattern. Look for survivors. Stay sharp. The Marines moved through the rubble with practiced efficiency. Their armor was designed to withstand extreme environments. Chemical weapons, radiation, crushing pressure, extreme heat. The Talon atmosphere felt like a pleasant spring day by comparison. Movement ahead. Daehyun raised his rifle and activated his targeting system. 3 Verax soldiers emerged from a collapsed building. They were dragging a group of Talon civilians behind them. The Talons were bound and terrified. The Verax soldiers froze when they saw the humans. For a moment, confusion showed on their alien faces. These were not Council peacekeepers. These were something else. Something in heavy armor, carrying weapons that looked far too large for any civilized species. One Verax reached for his communicator. Daehyun fired first. The rifle's magnetic coil accelerated a tungsten dart to hypersonic speed. The round punched through the Verax soldier's armor and body, continuing through the wall behind him. The other two Verax tried to return fire. They did not get the chance. Daehyun's squad eliminated them in seconds. The sound of gunfire echoed through the empty streets. Mirai rushed forward to check the Talon prisoners. She removed her helmet, revealing a kind face with concerned eyes. The Talons shrank back, terrified. They had been warned all their lives about humans, monsters from a death world, violent predators. "It is okay," Mirai said gently. She pulled out a medical scanner. "We are here to help. Can you understand me? My translation implant should work with your language." One Talon, braver than the others, spoke. "You are human. Why do you help us? Your council abandoned us." "We are not the council," Mirai said as she cut their bonds, "and we do not abandon people who need help. Are any of you injured?" She examined each Talon carefully. They were so fragile. Their bones felt like bird bones under her gloved hands. One had a fractured arm. Another had chemical burns from the weapons used in the attack. Mirai treated them as gently as possible. "There are more survivors," the brave Talon said. "A shelter 2 blocks from here. Maybe 200 people hiding underground. The Verax have been hunting through the buildings. They will find them soon." "Then we get there first," Daehyun said. He opened his communicator. "All squads, converge on shelter location. We have civilians to extract." The Marines moved through the devastated city. Along the way, they encountered more Verax patrols. Word had clearly spread that humans were on the ground. The Verax were preparing for a fight. They were not prepared for what actually happened. Human combat doctrine was built on lessons learned from thousands of years of warfare. From ancient battles with spears and shields to modern conflicts with advanced technology. Humanity had made every mistake, learned every lesson, paid every price. And they had written it all down, studied it, trained for it. The Verax soldiers had been trained to fight council species, gentle beings with minimal combat experience, species that followed rules and protocols. The Verax had never faced an opponent that was willing to fight dirty. Daehyun's squad used the ruins as cover. They flanked enemy positions. They set ambushes. They used smoke grenades and sensor jammers. One Marine carried a shoulder-mounted rocket launcher designed to take out fortified positions. Another had a rapid-fire weapon that could chew through light armor. When the Verax tried to establish defensive positions, the humans simply went around them. And when the Verax called for reinforcements, the humans had already moved to new locations. The enemy could not pin them down. "This is Sub-Commander Xyloth." A harsh voice came over captured Verax communications. "All ground units, fall back to the government complex. We cannot fight these things in open combat. Consolidate our forces and use the captured officials as leverage." Daehyun exchanged looks with his squad. "They are taking hostages, moving to a fortified position." "Classic last stand," another Marine commented. "They know they are losing." The shelter entrance was hidden beneath a collapsed transit station. Marines carefully cleared away debris to reveal a heavy door. Daehyun knocked in a specific pattern, one that had been broadcast by the survivors earlier. The door opened slightly. A Talon face peered out, eyes wide with fear. Then hope. Inside the shelter, 200 Talons huddled in the darkness. They had been here for 3 days without food or clean water. The air was stale. Many were injured. All were terrified. Dr. Tavon pushed his way to the front. "You came. You actually came for us." "Of course we came," Mirai said. She was already setting up a medical station, unpacking supplies from her pack. "Let me look at the wounded first. Can you help me? You are a doctor, yes?" Tavon nodded, stunned. These humans, these supposed monsters, were treating his people with such care. Mirai showed him how to use the human medical equipment. The devices were designed for Earth biology, but she adapted them for Talon physiology on the spot. A small Talon child approached Daehyun. The boy could not have been more than 5 years old in human terms. He stared up at the armored Marine with wonder and fear. "Are you going to hurt us?" the child asked. Daehyun knelt down, making himself less intimidating. Even kneeling, he towered over the child. "No, little one, we are going to keep you safe, that is a promise. But you are human. Humans are scary. We can be scary to bad people, but we are not scary to you." Daehyun reached into a pocket and pulled out a ration bar. "Are you hungry?" The child took the food hesitantly. Then he smiled. It was a small thing, but it meant everything. Above, in orbit, the battle continued. The Third Fleet had finally arrived. 12 human warships dropped out of FTL and immediately engaged the remaining Varax vessels. Admiral Jiho coordinated the assault from his flagship. "All ships target the remaining cruiser. The Indomitable needs relief." The combined firepower of the human fleet overwhelmed the last Varax escort ship in minutes. Only War Master Krell's flagship remained. Krell watched his forces dissolve around him. His invasion fleet was destroyed. His ground forces were being systematically eliminated by human marines. Everything had gone wrong. These Deathworlders fought with a ferocity and skill he had never encountered. "Send a transmission to the Dominion," Krell ordered. Tell them humanity is not to be underestimated. Tell them we made a terrible mistake." Before his communications officer could respond, the human fleet opened fire. Krell's flagship, already damaged from the earlier engagement, could not withstand the assault. The ship's reactor went critical. The last Varax vessel exploded in a flash of light. On the planet's surface, the Varax ground forces found themselves without support, without reinforcements, and facing an enemy that showed no mercy to those who harmed civilians. Sub-Commander Xyloth made his stand at the government complex with his remaining soldiers and captured Talon officials. Daehyun's squad surrounded the building. Other Marine units had secured the shelter survivors and were evacuating them to human ships in orbit. Now it was time to finish this. "Sub-Commander Xyloth, this is the human ground force," Daehyun broadcast. "Release your prisoners and surrender. You have lost. Your fleet is destroyed. Your army is broken. You have nowhere to run." Xyloth's reply was defiant. "If we die, the prisoners die with us. You humans may be monsters, but even you must follow rules of—" Daehyun cut the transmission. "No negotiation with people who use hostages. Standard breach protocol. Move in." The Marines placed shaped charges on the building's exterior. They coordinated their assault through their helmet systems. 3 entry points, simultaneous breach, overwhelming force. The charges detonated. The Marines poured into the building. The Varax soldiers opened fire with everything they had. Plasma weapons lit up the interior. Bullets ricocheted off human armor. The Marines did not slow down. They advanced through the fire like it was rain. Their armor absorbed the damage. Their weapons answered with lethal precision. Within 90 seconds, the firefight was over. Daehyun found Sub-Commander Xyloth in the central chamber, surrounded by dead soldiers. The Talon prisoners cowered in the corner, unharmed. The Sub-Commander reached for his sidearm. "Do not," Daehyun said simply. Xyloth looked at the human and saw his death reflected in that helmet's visor. He dropped the weapon. The sun rose over Talon Prime. The sky, which had been dark with smoke for days, began to clear. Human ships filled the orbit. Relief supplies were already being dropped. Medical teams landed in every major city. Engineering crews began working on infrastructure. Dr. Taven stood outside the shelter with little Havren, the boy who had been so afraid of the humans. Together they watched as Marines helped civilians board transport shuttles. They saw human medics treating wounded Talons with infinite patience. They saw engineers sharing their food with hungry families. "They saved us," Havren said quietly. "The scary humans saved us." "Yes," Tavon agreed. "Yes, they did." Political firestorm news of the battle at Talon Prime spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. By the time the human fleet had finished securing the system, every species in the Galactic Council knew what had happened. One human ship, acting without authorization, had held off an invasion fleet. Then 12 more human ships arrived and destroyed the enemy completely. The council chamber was in chaos. Councillor Velthar stood at his podium, his 4 arms gesturing wildly. "This is exactly what we feared. The humans deployed military force without permission. They violated council law. They entered sovereign space with warships. This cannot be tolerated. Ambassador Kyung-bae stood calmly at the human delegation platform. He was an older man with silver hair and patient eyes. He had been Earth's chief diplomat for 15 years. He had weathered many storms. This would be no different. Counselor Velthar makes serious accusations, Kyung said. Perhaps we should examine the facts. The council was informed of the Talon crisis. The council voted to send a peacekeeping fleet. That fleet was destroyed. The Talons sent desperate pleas for help. Those pleas were ignored. Then human forces, acting on their own initiative, saved an entire civilization from extinction. I fail to see the crime in this. The crime is the violation of procedure, Velthar shouted. We have laws. We have protocols. If every species simply acted on their own when they disagreed with council decisions, we would have anarchy. And if we follow procedure while civilizations burn, what does that make us? Kyung's voice remained calm, but his words cut through the chamber. The Talons are still alive today because humans chose action over bureaucracy. I suggest the council consider that before rushing to judgment. Chancellor Vex, the ancient leader of the council, raised one gnarled hand for silence. The chamber quieted. Vex was over 300 years old, a living connection to the council's founding generation. When he spoke, everyone listened. Ambassador Bay raises valid points. However, Counselor Velthar is also correct. We cannot allow unilateral military action, even when the intentions are noble. If we permit this, we set a dangerous precedent. Vex's ancient eyes studied Kyung. The question before us is not whether the Talons were saved. Clearly they were. The question is what price we pay for that salvation. Before Kyung could respond, another counselor stood. Counselor Thren was from a moderate species that generally avoided controversy. She rarely spoke in council sessions. Her voice carried weight precisely because she used it so sparingly. I would like to share something with the council, Thren said. With permission, I will broadcast a transmission we received from the Talon homeworld. The chamber's main screen activated. Dr. Taven appeared, standing in front of a crowd of thousands of Talons. His voice was shaky but determined. My name is Dr. Tavon. I am a scientist from Talon Prime. 3 weeks ago, our civilization was dying. The Verax came to our worlds with murder in their hearts. They used weapons designed specifically to kill us. They hunted our children. They burned our cities. We called for help. The council sent ships, and those ships were destroyed. We prepared to die. Tavon's image showed the ruins of the capital city in the background. Then the humans came. We were taught to fear them. We were told they were monsters from a death world. We believed the stories about their violence, their wars, their brutal nature. But when they arrived, we learned the truth. Yes, they are capable of terrible violence. We watched them destroy an invasion fleet. We watched their soldiers fight with skill we cannot comprehend. But we also watched them use that violence to protect us. The camera panned to show human Marines helping rebuild a school. A human medic treated a wounded Talon child with gentle hands. Engineers worked alongside Talon civilians to restore power to a hospital. The humans did not come because they had to. They came because it was right. They risked everything, violated your laws, faced your judgment, all to save people they had never met. If that is what it means to be a Deathworlder, then I am grateful such beings exist. The transmission ended. The council chamber was silent. Velthar tried to recover. This is emotional manipulation. The facts remain. The facts, Thren interrupted, are that the council failed. We knew the Talons were in danger. We sent insufficient forces. We followed procedure while people died. Then we condemned the species that actually saved them. Perhaps we should consider whether our procedures are adequate. Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. Velthar looked around, realizing he was losing support. Kyung seized the moment. The Galactic Council was founded to maintain peace. But peace is not the absence of violence. Peace is the protection of the innocent, the ability to stop those who would harm the defenseless. For too long, this council has confused avoiding conflict with keeping peace. The result is that we have become ineffective. Are you suggesting we militarize the council? Another counselor demanded. No, I am suggesting we recognize reality. Not every species needs to be warriors, but someone must be willing to fight when fighting is necessary. Humanity offers a solution. We propose the Galactic Defense Initiative, a voluntary military alliance. Species that wish to maintain pure pacifism can do so, but they will be protected by those willing to bear that burden. The chamber erupted in debate. Some species supported the idea immediately. Others were horrified by the suggestion. The argument raged for hours. Meanwhile, on Talon Prime, the recovery continued. Human relief workers coordinated with Talon authorities to distribute food and medical supplies. The engineering corps worked around the clock to restore basic infrastructure. Power grids came back online. Water treatment plants were repaired. Yuna worked alongside Talon doctors, teaching them emergency techniques adapted for their physiology. She had made a breakthrough in understanding how Talon biology responded to trauma. The research could save thousands of lives. Why do you share this so freely? Taven asked as they reviewed data together. This knowledge is valuable. Your species could demand payment. Yuna looked up from her screen. We are not here for profit. We are here because you needed help. Besides, scientific knowledge should be shared. Keeping medical advances secret means people die unnecessarily. Tavon studied the human woman. She had been working for 18 hours straight. Her eyes were tired, but her hands remained steady. Your people have suffered greatly, have they not? Your history is filled with wars. Yes, Yuna admitted. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times. We made terrible mistakes, killed millions over things that seem meaningless now, but we learned from it. We decided to be better. That is all anyone can do. Learn, grow, choose to do better next time. And you think the galaxy can learn this too? I hope so. Because the alternative is that more civilizations die while everyone debates the proper procedure for helping them. Back at Council Station, the vote was finally called after 2 days of non-stop debate. The question was simple. Should humanity's actions at Talon Prime be condemned, and should sanctions be imposed? The results came in slowly as each species cast their vote. Kyung watched the tally with a calm expression, though inside he felt tension. This vote would shape humanity's future in the galaxy. When the final count was announced, Kyung allowed himself a small smile. The motion to condemn humanity failed, by a narrow margin, but it failed. Then Chancellor Vex called for a second vote. The question before us now is the human proposal for a galactic defense initiative, a voluntary military alliance where member species provide for mutual defense. Those in favor? This vote took even longer. Species huddled with their advisors. Delegations sent urgent messages home for guidance. The galaxy was being asked to fundamentally change how it approached security. Finally, the results were displayed. The measure passed. Not overwhelmingly, but it passed. 12 species immediately volunteered to join the initiative. Others said they would consider it. Even some who voted against it admitted they might need its protection someday. Velthar stood alone at his podium, defeated. His species would not join the initiative. They would maintain their isolation, but the galaxy had moved on without them. President Nari of Earth appeared on the main screen via transmission from the homeworld. She was a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and a reputation for practical leadership. The United Earth government accepts the responsibility of leading the Galactic Defense Initiative. We will work with all member species to create a military structure that respects each civilization's values while providing effective protection. This is not an empire. This is not conquest. This is simply the strong protecting those who cannot protect themselves. As the council session ended, Kyung received a private message from Admiral Jiho. The message was brief. Intelligence reports Verak's activity in 3 more sectors. They are regrouping. This was just the beginning, Kyung sighed. The political battle was won, but the real war was just starting. On Talon Prime, little Havrin stood with Dr. Taven, watching human ships in orbit. The boy had lost his family in the attacks, but he had found hope in the actions of beings he was taught to fear. Will they stay? Havern asked. The humans? Will they protect us? Taven put a gentle hand on the boy's shoulder. Yes, I believe they will. Not because they have to, but because that is who they choose to be. The Deathworlders arrive. 3 days into the journey, Admiral Jiho's face appeared on the view screen. He looked angry. The Admiral was an older man with iron-gray hair and a reputation for following regulations to the letter. Minho braced himself for the reprimand. Captain Kim, do you have any idea what kind of political disaster you have created? Jiho's voice was sharp. The Council is demanding your immediate recall. 3 different species have filed formal complaints. Velthar is calling for sanctions against Earth. Yes, sir, I understand. Minho kept his voice steady. I will accept full responsibility for my actions. Jiho was quiet for a moment. Then he sighed. I received your data packet. The one with the Talon transmission and Dr. Park's analysis of the biological weapons. Yes, sir. I also received something else, something classified. The Admiral's expression changed. The Council's peacekeeping fleet reached the Talon outer colonies 2 days ago. We have been monitoring their communications through our intelligence network. Minho felt a cold weight in his stomach. What happened? They are gone, Captain. All 12 ships. No wreckage, no debris, no survivors, just silence. Jiho leaned forward. Whatever is attacking the Talons took out the entire peacekeeping fleet in less than 6 hours. The Council is in panic mode. They are trying to keep it quiet. The bridge crew had gone still, listening to every word. There is more, Jiho continued. We identified the attackers. Intelligence matched their ship signatures to old records. It is the Varax Dominion. Minho's blood ran cold. Every military officer in human space knew about the Varax. They were mentioned in history files as a cautionary tale. 500 years ago, the Varax had been expelled from the Galactic Council for war crimes. They had vanished into deep space, and most species assumed they had destroyed themselves in internal conflicts. They are back, Minho said quietly. And they have been preparing. Yes, and they are hitting the Talons with everything they have. The latest intelligence suggests the Talon homeworld is their primary target. Captain, if the Varax take that planet, they will have a strategic foothold in Council space. They could launch attacks on a dozen systems from there. Jiho's face became serious. I am authorizing your mission retroactively, and I am sending reinforcements. The Third Fleet is en route to Talon space. 12 ships, including 2 carriers. But you will reach the homeworld first, by at least 18 hours. Minho understood what that meant. His ship would face the Varax alone. Understood, Admiral. We will do what we can. Captain Kim. Jiho's voice softened slightly. The Council is still debating whether to officially request human assistance. They are more concerned about politics than those people dying down there. But we are not politicians. We are soldiers, and sometimes soldiers have to make the hard choices. Yes, sir. Bring your people home safe, Minho. That is an order. The transmission ended. Minho turned to his crew. Commander Soranam, his tactical officer, was already running combat simulations. She was a slim woman with sharp features and calculating eyes. Before joining the Navy, Sora had been a strategy instructor at the military academy. Commander, what are we looking at? Sora pulled up a holographic display. Based on the intelligence data, the Varax have at least 6 warships in the Talon system. Heavy cruisers similar to pre-FTL human battleships but with energy weapons and advanced shields. They outgun us significantly in direct combat. So we do not fight them directly, Minho said. What else do we know? The Varax follow rigid tactical doctrines. They use formation flying for mutual shield support. They prefer long-range engagement. And they have never fought humans before. Sora smiled slightly. They have no idea how we fight. Lieutenant Hyun spoke up from communications. Sir, we are approaching the system boundary. Dropping to sublight in 30 seconds. All hands battle stations, Minho ordered. Throughout the ship, alarms began to sound. Crew members rushed to their positions. Blast doors sealed. Weapons systems powered up. The Indomitable dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Talon system. The main view screen showed a scene of devastation. Orbital habitats drifted as burning wrecks. The debris field stretched for thousands of kilometers. Pieces of the Council peacekeeping fleet tumbled slowly through space. Sensors are picking up 6 Varax warships in orbit around Talon Prime, Hyun reported. They are conducting orbital bombardment. Energy weapons and kinetic strikes. I am reading multiple impact sites across the planet's surface. Yuna was at her science station scanning the planet. Captain, I am detecting massive atmospheric contamination. Chemical compounds consistent with the biological weapons we analyzed. Population centers are under direct attack. Ensign Ji Wushin, the youngest member of the bridge crew, looked up from her station. She was barely 22 on her first deep space deployment. Sir, I am launching reconnaissance drones. Stealth configuration. The tiny drones shot ahead of the Indomitable, their sensor-absorbent hulls making them nearly invisible. They approached the Varax formation and began transmitting detailed tactical data. Sora studied the information. The Varax ships are focused on the planet. They have minimal sensor coverage toward the outer system. They are arrogant. They think they have already won. Then let us teach them the cost of arrogance, Minho said. Helm, take us in. Silent running until we are in weapons range. The Indomitable glided forward, its systems running cool to avoid detection. The ship was designed for this kind of approach. Human naval doctrine emphasized surprise and overwhelming initial strikes. In Earth's oceans, submarines had perfected the art of unseen death. Humanity had carried those lessons to the stars. Weapons range in 90 seconds, Sora announced. I have firing solutions on all 6 targets. Load kinetic projectiles. Tungsten penetrators. Target their engine sections. Down in the weapons bays, automated systems loaded solid tungsten rods into magnetic accelerators. These were simple weapons, ancient in concept but devastatingly effective. No complex energy systems to fail. No guidance computers to jam. Just solid mass accelerated to incredible speeds by magnetic coils. 60 seconds. On the planet below, millions of Talons huddled in shelters and underground bunkers. They had watched their orbital defenses fall. They had watched the Council fleet arrive and then vanish. They had given up hope. The galaxy had abandoned them. They did not know that in the darkness above, a human warship was about to announce its arrival. 30 seconds. The Verax have not detected us yet. Minho's hands gripped the command chair. He thought about the Talon who had sent that last desperate message. He thought about all the species who feared humanity's capacity for violence. Maybe they were right to fear it. But violence was not always evil. Sometimes it was necessary. Sometimes it was justice. 15 seconds. All weapons ready, sir. 10 seconds. The Indomitable raced toward the unsuspecting Verax fleet. Inside the ship, every crew member was at their station ready for what came next. They knew this would be dangerous. They knew they might not survive. But they also knew that if they did nothing, an entire civilization would die. 5 seconds. Minho took a deep breath. Fire! The Indomitable's railgun spoke with thunder. Tungsten rods shot through space faster than any missile. The Verax shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, offered almost no resistance to solid projectiles traveling at relativistic speeds. The first 2 Verax ships took direct hits to their engine sections. Explosions bloomed in the vacuum of space as fusion reactors lost containment. The ships went dark and began tumbling out of orbit. Finally, the Verax realized they were under attack. The battle for Talon Prime had begun. The broken treaty. The emergency lights flashed red across the Galactic Council chamber. Representatives from 47 different species sat in their designated seats, their alien forms casting strange shadows on the curved walls. At the center podium stood Counselor Velthar, his forearms gesturing wildly as he spoke. The Talon Collective is dying, Velthar announced. His voice carried through the chamber's translation system, converting his words into every known language. 3 of their colony worlds have gone silent. The few transmissions we received show complete destruction, cities burning, millions dead. The chamber erupted in panicked chatter. The Talons were known across the galaxy as gentle beings. They had never harmed anyone. Their worlds produced beautiful art and music. They had no weapons, no armies, no way to defend themselves. Captain Minho Kim stood on the observation deck above the council chamber. He was not supposed to be here. Human military officers were rarely allowed near Council Station. But his ship, the Indomitable, had been making a supply run nearby when the emergency session was called. He had talked his way into the visitors' gallery. Minho watched the debate unfold below. He was a tall man with sharp eyes and short black hair starting to gray at the temples. Scars crossed his hands from years of service. He had fought in the border skirmishes, the conflicts that erupted when humanity first pushed into deep space. He knew what war looked like. We must send the peacekeeping fleet immediately, one counselor suggested. The creature looked like a floating jellyfish, its translucent body pulsing with light. Yes, yes, others agreed. The standard response. Armed escorts, medical ships, negotiation teams. Minho frowned. He had seen the footage that was leaked to military channels. Whatever attacked the Talons was not interested in negotiation. The attackers had bombarded civilian centers from orbit. They used weapons designed to cause maximum suffering. A small counselor near the back stood up. She was from a water-dwelling species, her voice bubbling through a breathing mask. What if the peacekeeping fleet is not enough? What if we need more aggressive help? Silence fell across the chamber. Everyone knew what she meant. Velthar's face twisted in disgust. You cannot be suggesting we involve the humans in this matter. The water-dweller counselor pressed on. The Talon distress signals indicate an enemy of significant military capability. Our peacekeeping forces are designed for minor conflicts and police actions.
Perhaps we need— Absolutely not.
Velthar slammed one of his fists on the podium. The humans are barely civilized. They come from a death world, a planet so hostile that it bred them into monsters. Do you know what they did to their own kind before they reached the stars? They waged wars that killed billions. They created weapons that could destroy entire planets. We allowed them into the Council only because we had no choice. But giving them military authority? Never. Minho felt his jaw tighten. He had heard these speeches before. To most of the galaxy, humans were the boogeyman. Stories of Earth's violent history were told as warnings to children. The fact that humanity had spent the last 80 years proving they could be peaceful neighbors meant nothing to species like Velthar. The vote was called. Should humanity be asked to assist with the Talon crisis? The result was clear. 34 votes against, only 13 in favor. The motion failed. We will dispatch the peacekeeping fleet immediately, Velthar declared. They will restore order and investigate these attacks. This session is concluded. Minho left the observation deck and made his way back to the docking ring where the Indomitable was berthed. His crew was waiting for him in the ship's briefing room. Dr. Una Park looked up as he entered. She was the ship's chief science officer, a brilliant woman with tired eyes and long black hair pulled back in a practical bun. Captain, what did the Council decide? They're sending the peacekeeping fleet. No human involvement. Minho sat down heavily. They voted against even asking for our help. Lieutenant Hyun Lee, the communications officer, shook his head. Sir, I've been monitoring subspace channels. I picked up fragments of another Telon transmission. It came from their homeworld about 2 hours ago. Put it on screen, Minho ordered. The view screen flickered to life. The image was broken and distorted, but the message was clear. A Talon civilian, his thin frame shaking with fear, stared into the camera. Behind him, fires lit up the sky. This is Talon Prime broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. Our orbital defenses have fallen. Enemy ships are in atmosphere. They are using chemical weapons. The compounds they are designed for us. For our biology specifically. This is not war. This is extermination. If anyone can hear this, please. We have children here. The transmission cut to static. The briefing room was silent. Yuna's face had gone pale. Chemical weapons targeted at Talon biology? That's not random violence. Someone studied them. Planned this. Minho stared at the blank screen. His mind raced through tactical considerations. The Talon homeworld was 4 days away at maximum speed. The peacekeeping fleet would take at least a week, maybe more. By then, there might be no one left to save. Sir? Hyun spoke carefully. What are your orders? This was the moment. Minho knew the regulations. Human military vessels were prohibited from entering non-allied space without council authorization. If he disobeyed, it could mean the end of his career. It could damage human-alien relations for decades. The council might use it as proof that humans could not be trusted, but he could not stop seeing that Talon's face. The fear, the desperate hope that someone, anyone, would answer their call for help. Lieutenant Hyun, send a coded message to Admiral Jiho at Earth Command. Tell him what we found. Tell him what we are about to do. Minho stood up and straightened his uniform. Helm, plot a course for Talon space. Maximum burn. We leave in 1 hour. Yuna stood as well. Captain, the council will. The council made their decision. Now I am making mine. Minho looked at each of his senior officers in turn. I will not explain to history why we stood by and did nothing while an entire species was wiped out. If they want to court-martial me later, fine. But right now, people are dying. And we are going to help them. Throughout the ship, the crew began preparations. Engineers checked the engines. Weapons officers ran diagnostics on the railguns and missile batteries. Marines checked their armor and loaded their rifles. The Indomitable was a human warship, designed and built with Earth's harsh lessons in mind. It was tougher, faster, and more heavily armed than most Council vessels. It had to be. Humanity could not rely on anyone else to protect them. As the ship undocked from Council Station and began accelerating toward open space, Minho stood on the bridge and watched the stars. He thought about the Talons and their gentle civilization. He thought about the unknown enemy that was hunting them. He thought about what the galaxy would say when they learned a human ship had violated Council law. Let them say what they wanted. Some things were more important than politics. The Indomitable jumped to faster than light speed, vanishing into the darkness between stars. Behind them, Council Station continued its debates and procedures. Ahead, in Talon space, the killing continued.